What's up, Boulder, Colorado?
I've seen this stuff, and I expect that. You know, it's like, I want you to play. They're gonna bring you a cake, play surprise. Like you're surprised for your birthday. Man, I seen the cake way down the street. I ain't gonna jump in the hall and scream. I know what's coming. So
Today, we've got several news stories, so let's get to it. Our main story today is about Coach Prime being a top candidate to replace the greatest coach of all time in Nick Saban. For those who may have missed it, longtime Alabama head coach Nick Saban has retired from college football, and this news truly is breaking the internet. Plus, we're also going to talk about Shedeur Sanders reaching out to recruit Alabama players and a couple other great stories. So grab you an oatmeal cream pie, Coach Saban's favorite snack. Sit back and get ready because this is the prime time for college football. Now, our first story today, we're going to talk about Coach Prime being an early favorite for the Alabama job. I've had several legitimate folks reach out to me, and sources have advised that Coach Prime would definitely be on the short list for the Alabama coaching jobs. The biggest three names that we're hearing keep coming back with Dan Lanning, Dabo Swinney from Clemson, and Coach Prime, obviously at Colorado. Now, recently, Coach Prime reacted to the news of Saban leaving, and he posted this. Wow, college football just lost the GOAT to retirement. Wow, I knew it would happen one day, but not this soon. The game has changed so much that it chased the GOAT away. College football, let's hold up our mirrors and say honestly what you see. So the question is whether Coach Prime would seriously take the Alabama job or not. Now, first off, Coach Prime would be an absolute slam dunk for Alabama. Can you imagine him recruiting there? This is no shot at any other school in the country. But what Alabama has done over Nick Saban's tenure there has been ridiculous. And to go from the one guy in the Aflac commercials, Nick Saban, to the other guy in the Aflac commercials in Coach Prime would be ridiculous. It would be a parade of five stars, unlike anything we've ever seen. Alabama is a juggernaut of a program that has endless resources and a very dedicated fan base. And Coach Prime is already great friends with the coach who's leaving, Nick Saban. So I think it goes without saying that Alabama fans would love to have Coach Prime, and many of them would be cheering for this. But the question remains, would Coach Prime actually consider taking the job? I suspect that you're going to see a bunch of fake articles and stories claiming that Deion Sanders is considering taking the job. Then you'll probably hear Coach Prime come out and shoot all of the noise down. Don't believe the noise, he'll tell you. Coach Prime is a Buffalo, true and true. So I need to ask you guys a favor quickly. While we're talking right now, go ahead and hit that upvote button, the thumbs up, and let Coach Prime know how much we appreciate him and want him to stay in Boulder. Now, obviously, it would be his choice, no matter what way he went with this. But I believe that he's happy in Boulder. I don't believe that he's going to take the Alabama job. As much as you're going to hear about it, as much as people are going to hype it up, as much as you may see it different places, I don't necessarily believe that it is reality. We've got some Vegas odds that we'll show you, and Coach Prime is listed on the Vegas odds. But here's the thing about that. He is listed so far down at plus 5,000. There are a lot of coaches in front of him, including there's Oregon's Dan Lanning, there's Dabo Swinney that we mentioned, there's Lane Kiffin, you've got Mike Norvell at Florida State, James Franklin, others on the list. Deion Sanders down there at the very bottom at plus 5,000. I believe that bookies and odds makers and people who write articles know that if they include Coach Prime, they can fool you into thinking that it's something that may happen. But Vegas truly tells you it's pretty unlikely at plus 5,000. The chances there are around 1%. It's not likely at all that it happens, to be honest with you. However, when you look at the Vegas odds and he is included, it's obviously more likely than 0% when you consider it from that angle. But here's what I believe. I believe that it ends up being Dan Lanning, who Colorado went up against this year when we played Oregon. I don't think that any coach in the country would turn down the Alabama job if it was offered to them. Now, maybe Coach Prime's the exception to that, but I think that if you were offered the Alabama job, one of the best jobs in the country, most coaches are taking that. And I think that Alabama is probably zeroing in on Dan Lanning. That would be my guess for the role. And I think if they offer it to him, he's going to take it. Not that Coach Prime wouldn't be an amazing coach there, but that's just the direction that I see it going. I also think that Coach Prime has invested so much into Colorado and so much into his sons being there and the work and everything he's done and put in there, it'd be hard for him to walk away from that. Now, obviously, with the new NCAA rules, Hunter could follow him, and Shiloh and Shedeur, and others could follow him to Alabama. But I just don't know that that's necessarily the direction that he would want to go at this point. Now, if that's what Coach Prime does, we're going to continue to follow him, and we're going to support him whatever he does. But his own words have said the opposite of that. And his own words have said that that's not what he is planning on doing. What are your thoughts? I want to hear from you guys. Do you think it's a legitimate possibility that Coach Prime follows up the GOAT and is a different kind of GOAT at Alabama? Or do you think he's pretty content and just stays in Colorado? I lean the second way, but I'm open to hearing your opinions if you disagree. I'm open to hearing what you have to say. I won't shout you down in the comments. I won't make fun of you. I won't pick at you. I just want to hear your thoughts on Coach Prime to Alabama. Next up, let's talk about Shedeur Sanders reaching out to Alabama players. Now, recently, Shedeur posted on his Twitter, Alabama players tap in. Let me explain the transfer rules to you regarding a coach leaving. A coach leaving opens up a 30-day portal window for that team. Any player on Alabama's roster now has 30 days to potentially leave and enter the transfer portal and go anywhere else in the country. It's one of the cooler rules that exists in the NCAA. They don't want to leave kids stranded, and the big complaint was that coaches were getting through signing day, building up this entire class and this entire roster and saying like, hey, come here, I'll coach y'all, and then the coach would leave. And the kids would say, hey, why are they allowed to leave at any time, but we have to stick around and stay? So the NCAA, very rarely do they do the right thing, the NCAA anyways. The NCAA actually did the right thing here. And they created a 30-day window for coaches that leave. Well, this is going to have a ripple effect all across college football. And it cuts both ways. If Coach Prime left for Alabama, he could certainly open up a 30-day window at Colorado. If Dan Lanning leaves for Alabama, he'll open up a 30-day window there at Oregon. And then if someone else goes to replace him at Oregon, that will open up a 30-day window somewhere else. And the ripple effect is massive. But all of these Alabama players are now up for grabs since Nick Saban left. And Shedeur knows that Colorado could use that talent on their roster. I like what Colorado has done with the talent on their roster. I like the portal additions. They've got one of the top classes in the portal again this year. Second year in a row, they've got one of the top classes. But could they add some more talent? Could they add some Alabama-level talent? We've talked about the trenches. We talked about linebackers. So DJ Lundy back to Florida State today. Could Alabama be a feeder for Colorado? We've talked a little bit about NIL, the needs there. I'm led to believe that Colorado has got some NIL funds and kind of got them pointing in the right direction. You don't land a player like Seton. You don't do what they're doing in the portal without having some real value and money to work with. So could they potentially reach out and grab some Alabama players to bolster this roster and have a real shot at running at the Big 12 and then the college football playoff next year? I don't think Shedeur is playing. I don't think there's any better recruiter out there as far as a quarterback goes than Shedeur Sanders, a guy that's going to be mentioned for the Heisman, a guy that's going to go in the first round of the NFL draft, and a guy who's playing for his dad, an NFL Hall of Fame cornerback, Super Bowl champion, and one of the best ever to do it. We'll see what ends up happening with this. This Nick Saban news is massive across college football. I cannot remember a day this big in college football news in a long time. the undisputed GOAT, the best to ever do it. So much respect for Nick Saban. Coach Prime has so much respect for Nick Saban. It's really remarkable. They are friends. They are buddies. You could see even the emotion in his tweet, how much he means to him. And so a massive day in college football. How does this impact Colorado? How is Colorado maybe able to capitalize on this? We'll see. Don't let any of the articles worry you over the next few days. Don't let anything that comes out about Coach Prime to Alabama worry you. I don't believe it's happening. The name is going to come up. I don't think it happens. I don't think he goes. Trust me on this one. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. Hey, let's comment below. Let's talk a little bit about this. I appreciate you guys a ton for watching the prime time for college football.